Hey everyone, welcome back to Main Character Syndrome. I'm one of your hosts, Alyssa, also known as the Redhead, also known as the Hopeless Romantic.
And I'm your other host, Danielle, aka Beans, aka the aspiring Nancy Drew, the whodunit detective.
Yes.
So this is my episode.
This is
man.
yours.
I am living for this. This is my genre, and I'm so excited to dive into today some mystery thriller reads, but they're kind of going to be good beach reads, good lake reads, good camping reads.
Yep.
So it's kind of just a good summer mystery thriller read.
Everybody loves a good scary story when you're sitting at the campfire, you're camping, and you're in your camper, and you're just like reading a book about people who get murdered on camping, and it's interesting.
What was that book? Stories to Read in the Dark?
Oh,
or
yes.
Stories
Yes.
You Shouldn't Read in the Dark or something like that.
But you definitely did.
But we definitely did, and then I definitely didn't sleep.
Oh, I know.
You know what's funny? I actually hate scary movies.
Really?
Yeah, I hate scary movies. I cannot do them. I will not sleep for weeks.
That makes sense.
And I'll have so many nightmares. But a good horror book, I can do that easily.
So I have kind of an embarrassing story. So I have always hated horror movies. So probably middle school, I had a sleepover with my friends and I went to my friend's house. Everybody started watching The Crazies. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Absolutely not.
It's basically a story about a plane crashes into a town's water supply. That water supply gets contaminated. Everybody turns into like basically zombies, crazy people. And it was so scary that I went upstairs with my friend's parents and watched SpongeBob instead.
That's awesome. That would be me. Or I'd just be sitting there crying.
I know.
While everyone's watching that.
They started Insidious first, and I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't know what it is about kids and horror movies.
I don't know either. I watched with my parents when I wasn't like really young, but maybe like high school, The Strangers.
Oh, yeah.
And I lived in our family house in like the front bedroom of the house that led to the front porch, and so like you could just walk up to the porch and like tap on my window. And so after we watched that movie, my parents knew how scared I was, but it was kind of funny and it was a joke and I knew they were joking. But that night, it wasn't like super late, they like went to the front door and like tapped on the window and were like, "Is Tamra home?"
No,
I was like, I'm done.
Absolutely
you
not.
guys, the worst. And I think I was in high school and ended up sleeping in my parents' bedroom.
Oh, that's so sad. The first horror movie I ever watched was at my birthday. The same thing. Why do kids, whenever you're like, let's watch a movie?
No, I don't know.
Why do you want horror movies? I don't understand. It was Amityville Horror. It was probably one of the worst movies I could possibly watch as a first horror movie. Got me off of horror movies ever since. I will not watch them.
Yeah, I love Stephen King novels. So
I do love Stephen King novels, though. And I was in a horror and science fiction class. I took that as an elective back in like post-secondary enrollment during high school, but I was taking college classes and I had to take an elective. That was one of them. And so I was like reading Stephen King before bed and like I could sleep through the night, but it was graphic.
Yeah. And we're not going to talk about horror books today. These are more mystery thrillers. Yeah. But, there's some death in there. There's actually a lot of death in there.
It's not a mystery unless someone gets killed.
Yeah. It's a whodunit.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
And we just love being on this topic of like mysteries. And stay tuned for October. We've got a ton of Stephen King, Agatha Christie.
I've got it all planned, guys.
We do.
We got you. And we've got some good like Halloween feels stuff to get you into. So I know it's like in the middle of summer, but we're planning for fall.
We know there are a lot of girlies who are already looking forward to spooky season.
A little pumpkin spice, a little Stephen King, Agatha Christie.
A little witchy rom-com.
That sounds like a perfect October to me.
But before we get to fall, we are in summer. So let's talk about some summer mystery thrillers. Danielle, I'm going to let you start off since this is your episode.
Yes. Okay. So you haven't read this yet, right? First Lie Wins?
No, it's on my TBR though.
It's on your TBR. It's a good one. It's a really popular one right now that a lot of people are talking about. It's by Ashley Elston. And it kind of goes like this. The identity comes first. Evie Porter. Once she's given a name and location by her mysterious boss, Mr. Smith, she learns everything there is to know about the town and the people in it. Then the mark, Ryan Sumner.
Ooh.
The last piece of the puzzle is the job. Evie isn't privy to Mr. Smith's real identity, but she knows this job will be different. Ryan has gotten under her skin, and she's starting to envision a different sort of life for herself. In a good way. But Evie can't make any mistakes, especially after what happened the last time.
Oh, what happened the last time?
I'm going to have to read it. But the one thing she's worked her entire life to keep clean, the one identity she could always go back to, her real identity, just walked right into this town. Someone using her real name and identity. Evie Porter must stay one step ahead of her past while making sure there's still a future in front of her with her real identity. This stakes couldn't be higher, but then Evie has always liked a challenge.
Ooh, plot twist after plot twist. I'm in.
Yeah, and this does have really good reviews on Goodreads, 4.06 stars.
Nice.
And I will say, it's really good. There are definitely some twists, and there's some romance.
Ooh,
like
I'm in.
It's not spicy.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of romance, kind of I wouldn't say rom-com because, there's a lot of thriller in it. And she's like doing this mission. But it's really good. I wrote kind of that it's a fun read with some suspense and romance. Definitely keeps you wondering and your mind active, wondering who Mr. Smith is and who's kind of actually the enemy. Ooh. There's a lot of plot twists kind of happening through this. So it's really good.
I'm in.
Sign
me up.
Yeah,
Sign me up.
What's yours?
Okay, so one that I've always wanted to read, I haven't read it yet. It's called Malibu Rising. So the scene is Malibu, August 1983. It's the day of Nina Riva's annual end of summer party, and anticipation is at a fever pitch. Everyone wants to be around the famous Rivas. Nina, the talented surfer and supermodel brothers Jay and Hud, one a championship surfer, the other a renowned photographer, and their adored baby sister, Kit. Together, the siblings are a source of fascination in Malibu and the world over, especially as the offspring of the legendary singer Mick Riva. The only person not looking forward to the party of the year is Nina herself, who never wanted to be the center of attention and who has also just been very publicly abandoned by her pro tennis player. Ooh, yikesies. Oh, tennis player husband. Excuse me. I need to finish that.
Oh,
husband.
Gosh. Yikes. It's not even just a boyfriend.
Big yikesies. Oh, and maybe Hud, because it is a long past time to confess something to the brother from whom he's been inseparable since birth. Jay, on the other hand, is counting the minutes until nightfall when the girl he can't stop thinking about promised she'll be there. We've all heard that before. And Kit has a couple secrets of her own, including a guest she invited without consulting anyone.
You don't do that.
That they usually turn out to be serial killers. Just letting you know. By midnight, the party will be completely out of control. By morning, the Riva mansion will have gone up in flames. But before that first spark in the early hours before dawn, the alcohol will flow, the music will play, and the loves and secrets that shaped this family's generations will all come bubbling to the surface.
My younger sister, she likes to read too. And she read this one a while ago and immediately was like, Beans, this is for you.
Beans, this is for you.
You will like this. Read it. And I was like, well, I'm not the best always at reading books that people recommend to me.
Yeah,
so
you're like, not if you told me to. No.
Yeah, not by my younger sister.
Yeah.
You can't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
So I haven't read it yet, but actually it is on my TBR. So
this one? Yeah. I just reading it again, I'm like, oh, my library hold needs to go faster.
Yeah.
Like, 12 weeks, make it 2.
I have my Audible reading at like 1.3 to 1.5 at all times now. Yeah. I'm like, I have to get through so many of these books so fast.
So many books. So here's something, if you guys didn't know, if you have a library card, you can go on the apps like Libby and Hoopla, and you can get like unlimited access to audiobooks and ebooks if they're available. Some you have to wait for. But, I mean, it's free reading.
In my experience, also, like, the wait list on Libby, sometimes it's, like, 11 weeks. And you're like, why would I get on this wait list? It'll be, like, just a few weeks.
Yeah.
Because if there's a long enough line, they'll obtain more copies
Yep.
so that they can dish more out to people. So even if there's like a long wait, just trust the process.
Yep.
It's never going to be that long.
Well, and you don't know how fast people are going to read it, especially if it's a popular book like Fourth Wing. They're going to get through it in 2 days. You know?
Going to get through it in 2 days. You're automatically assigned like 21 days for the book, but you can return it early, or if you have like a long list of books and the book that you've been waiting for has popped up, you can like select to be put next in line after.
Yeah, like deliver later.
Yeah. So that's always an option too, and I use that a lot. But
Me too.
Amazon, or Audible I should say, just had a sale not too long ago.
Oh, yes, they did.
Books. And let me tell you, I'm not going to tell my husband how much money I spent, but girl math, I saved so much money.
You saved so much money on books. I mean, come on.
I think I got maybe 15 books or something, if not more, for like $15 and less. I think some of them were like $2 too.
Yeah, especially if it's an audiobook, those can be like 30 plus.
Yeah, so I probably, I don't know, maybe spent
Words, songs, and sentences are hard.
like 150 to 200 bucks.
Yeah,
but I got so many books.
But you got so many more books, and you got them for a steal. So, girl math, that checks out.
I got a notification from my credit card company.
Oh, what happened?
They were like, "This is a unique charge to your account. Can you verify that these many charges to the same place was you?" I was like 9, 10, 15, 2,
yes, I read
4.
books.
I was like,
leave me be.
Yeah. So that was pretty funny.
Oh, that's amazing.
But yeah, so I got a bunch of books, and I'm on Libby, so I'm kind of filtering through these pretty fast. Yeah. One that I have already read as well that I recommend is The House Across the Lake.
Yes, I've heard much about this book.
It's been, I think, a pretty popular one too this summer. Goodreads has it at a 3.6, which is, it's okay. But I really liked it. And the Swifties out there will like that. It kind of reminds me of her song, I Look in People's Window.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll just preface by saying there is a very twisted ending. It's not like super disturbing, so don't get me wrong when I say twisted, but it's kind of twisted. I was like, oh, like I was like, I may have saw that coming, but this is really crazy.
Yeah, that's how I felt with Every Summer After. I was like, that's a twisted ending.
Yeah, so I love a good twist. But here's kind of how it goes. Casey Fletcher, a recently widowed actress trying to escape a streak of bad press, has retreated to the peace and quiet of her family's lake house in Vermont, armed with a pair of binoculars and several bottles of liquor. She's passing the time watching Tom and Catherine Royce, the glamorous couple who live in the house across the lake. They make for good viewing. A tech innovator, Tom, is rich, and a former model, Catherine, is gorgeous. And one day on the lake, Casey saves Catherine from drowning, and the two strike up a budding friendship. But the more they get to know each other, the longer Casey watches, it becomes clear that Catherine and Tom's marriage is not as perfect as it appears. When Catherine suddenly vanishes, Casey becomes consumed with finding out what happened to her. In the process, she uncovers eerie, darker truths that turn a tale of voyeurism and suspicion into a story of guilt, obsession, and how looks can be very deceiving. With his trademark blend of sharp characters, psychological suspense, and gasp-worthy surprises, Riley Sager's The House Across the Lake unveils more than one twist, that's for sure, that will shock readers until the very last page.
I'm excited to read this.
It is very good. So I definitely recommend this one. It also, I would say, is a book that you can get through relatively fast, depending on...
It's not like a thick book.
Well, I listen to the audiobook, so I don't know how thick it is.
True.
But I couldn't stop listening to it.
Okay.
I was like, wait, what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
So it's fast-paced.
Fast-paced, for sure.
Amazing. Well, I'm excited to add that to my TBR. This one is kind of a popular one. So Geneva Rose has written a couple murder mystery books. This one was I don't know if it was her first one, but it's her first really popular one, The Perfect Marriage. It has a 3.8 star rating on Goodreads. And the synopsis is really interesting because it first asks you a question. Would you defend your husband if he was accused of killing his mistress?
Woo.
What do you think?
No.
Andrew, you're SOL.
I hope he doesn't have a mistress. Then I might become the main character of that story.
Yes.
Of a horror story, let me tell you.
The murder mystery. You'd never find the body.
The murder mystery. There will be no body discovered.
There will not be. I will help hide it. And for the FBI out there that's listening, I wouldn't.
This is a joke.
This is a joke. Completely.
Completely.
Would never happen. Anyways, Sarah Morgan is a successful and powerful defense attorney in Washington, D.C. At 33 years old, she is a named partner at her firm, and life is going exactly how she planned. The same cannot be said for her husband, Adam. He is a struggling writer who has had little success in his career. He begins to tire of his and Sarah's relationship as she is constantly working. Aw, you got the woman working and the man not enjoying his life? Sad. Out in the secluded woods at Adam and Sarah's second home, Adam engages in a passionate affair with Kelly Summers.
Dang.
Then, one morning, everything changes. Adam is arrested for Kelly's murder. She has been found stabbed to death in Adam and Sarah's second home. Sarah soon finds herself playing the defender for her own husband, a man accused of murdering his mistress. But is Adam guilty or is he innocent? Did Sarah do it? I don't know.
Ooh, you know what? You would like, if you like this book, I believe it's called Pretty Little Wife. It's the one I'm thinking of. And I've talked about it before. It kind of has a little bit of this sense to it.
This one, it's going to be really, really good. I'm excited to read it. And then she just came out with one this year, I believe. Home is Where the Bodies Are. And so that's a really good one if you would like to dabble a little bit more into the world of Geneva Rose. She's very fun to follow on social media as well.
Oh, yeah?
She has this thing with one of her critics she calls Scott. And every time she gets, like, success now, she's like, thanks, Scott, for, like, everything, for being a dick. It's amazing. It's amazing. She throws so much shade at this man.
That's awesome. We love when you overcome bullies.
Yes. And you just, like, have all the success in the world, and you're like, look at me now.
You just rub it in their face.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, kill them with absolute kindness. It works.
Yeah. There's one, it's called The Chateau. I've seen people reading it too. It's really good. The synopsis from here is literally crazy long. So I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of what is in the book and a little bit of my experience from reading it.
Okay.
A dream girl's trip to a luxurious French chateau devolves into a deadly nightmare of secrets and murder in this stylish, twisty thriller for fans of Lucy Foley, Ruth Ware, and Lisa Jewell. So they were kind of at this chateau, and it's one of the girls' grandmothers. And while this group of friends, they've kind of been apart from each other for a while, they reconnect here at the chateau. Two of them have kind of stayed in contact while several of them have not. And this is kind of their chance to get back together and reconnect. Well, the grandmother is killed.
Oh.
That's not really a spoiler. It's kind of the main part of the story.
It happens in the beginning.
Yes, and it's in the description right here.
Okay,
so I feel like
don't
it's
comment,
totally safe
don't come at
to
Beans
say.
for this. Don't come at her.
It's totally safe to say that it's in the description of the book.
Yep.
So she ends up dead, and there are vibes of like Pretty Little Liars because this Instagram account it comes up and it starts kind of exposing snapshots of the friends' intimate moments together and threatens to reveal more.
Ooh, I love this.
Yeah, so it's really good. It has a 3.51 on Goodreads. And like I said, it kind of reminded me of Pretty Little Liars. I did like The House Across the Lake a lot more. And what was the first one? Oh, First Lie Wins. I liked that one more as well. So it wasn't like my absolute favorite, but it was definitely good and definitely a good twist at the end too.
Ooh, you know we love twists.
Yeah.
Especially with a mystery thriller. Like you kind of have to.
You kind of have to. And I like when it's one that I don't see coming. And this one I didn't see coming until kind of later in the book.
Yeah. That's fun. I love books like that, so I'm excited to read that one too. This one was 4 stars on Goodreads by a very famous author, James Patterson. It's called The Summer House. Once a luxurious southern getaway on a rustic lake, then reduced to a dilapidated crash pad, the summer house is now the grisly scene of a nighttime mass murder. Eyewitnesses point to 4 Army Rangers known as the Night Ninjas, recently returned from Afghanistan. To ensure that justice is done, the Army sends Major Jeremiah Cook, a veteran and former NYPD cop, to investigate. But the Major and his elite team arrive in sweltering Georgia with no idea their grim jobs will be made exponentially more challenging by local law enforcement, who resist the Army's intrusion and stonewalls them at every turn. As Cook and his squad struggle to uncover the truth behind the condemning evidence, the pieces just won't fit, and forces are rallying to make certain damning secrets die alongside the victims in the murder house. With his own people in the crosshairs, Cook takes a desperate gamble to find answers, even if it means returning to a hell of his own worst nightmares.
That sounds really, really good.
It sounds thrilling.
I am definitely going to have to read that. I'm really excited for that
James
one.
Patterson is a great author.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm excited to read this one. Again, I haven't read any of these because I'm a romance girl.
Yeah, when was the last time you read a mystery thriller?
Probably when you had it for book club, when it was
like
wrong place, wrong time.
Was that October 2022?
You're
joking.
No.
Yeah.
I don't read a ton of mystery thriller. I mean, if you count like Flowers of the Killer Moon, that's not really mystery thriller. That's more like tragedy because it actually happened.
Historical. Mm-hmm. It's nonfiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Wow. Girl.
Now I've got so many on my list, though, that I can add to.
You have to jump into this.
Oh, I am definitely going to.
I mean, there are some that can be a bit spicy. Mm-hmm. Like I said, Pretty Little Wife. This one, I'm going to make maybe a loose connection. Mm-hmm. It sounds like All Good People Here. Just a little bit, kind of. In All Good People Here, I'm just pulling this from the top of my head. Mm-hmm. There are, I believe, children. I don't know. People start dying.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of this one.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I should not give a synopsis of this. It's okay. It's been a while since I read it.
Just don't come at us if it's wrong.
There's some murder in it, obviously, and kind of tying in people from the past and, reconnecting relationships. But yeah, kind of working against, I would say, authority. So from my memory, that's kind of something like that. But that one was a decent one too. It wasn't at the top of like my mystery thrillers, so I didn't put it in here. But I think it's it's a rec too.
Yeah, I would read it.
I have Hidden Pictures. I saw this one in a local bookshop, just kind of on the shelf there.
Oh, fun.
And it had a good cover, if I'm being honest.
I definitely judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, I do too sometimes. And the description actually like really drew me in. It has a 4.15 on Goodreads, which was actually put it at number 1 in all of the books that I've talked about today.
Nice.
But it was not my number 1. But it was still good. It goes like this. Mallory Quinn is fresh out of rehab when she takes a job as a babysitter for Ted and Carolyn Maxwell. She has to look after their 5-year-old son, Teddy. Mallory immediately loves it. She loves owning her own living space, going out for nightly runs. And I say owning her own living space. She actually like lives in their guest house. But she goes out for nightly runs, and she has this stability that she's kind of always wanted. And she's really trying to better herself. Well, she really bonds with Teddy, who's a sweet, shy boy who's never without his sketchbook and pencil. His drawings are the usual fare, trees, rabbits, balloons. But one day he draws something a bit different. A man in a forest dragging a woman's lifeless body.
Oh, no.
This is a young boy, once again, 5 years old. Then his artwork becomes really sinister, and his stick figures quickly evolve into lifelike sketches well beyond the ability of any 5-year-old. Mallory begins to wonder if these are a glimpse of a long unsolved murder, perhaps being relayed by a supernatural force. Knowing Knowing it all sounds crazy, Mallory nevertheless sets out to decipher the images and save Teddy before it's too late. I mean, that description of the book, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 for the description.
Really great description.
Would I read this? I don't know, because whenever I can deal with like slasher movies, like people get killed, but once you bring demonic forces and anything like ghosts, it terrifies me.
Yeah. I will say there's actually not a lot of death in this book, or like active action death. But there is, of course, a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't let that, like the 5-year-old doing these drawings, kind of push you off.
That's terrifying.
It is, like, in a sense, but it's really not that bad.
It's nightmare fuel for me.
There's so many like sweet moments, and there's a bit of romance in here too.
Okay, I guess you have me now.
Yeah. So it was definitely good. Would I have made it my number one on this list? No. But yeah, definitely was surprised at how high it was rated.
All right.
Nothing really stuck out to me, but the ending certainly was a surprise.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you have any other honorable mentions? I know you've got like a whole list.
Girl, I have some more. I haven't read, so this is one I actually haven't read yet. It's The Unwedding by Ali Condi. Saw this one on Reese Witherspoon's book club.
Okay.
So I haven't read it yet, but I will say I, of course, looked at Goodreads.
Of course.
And
that's where like all of these came from.
Right. The reviews actually weren't amazing. Like, they weren't bad. It got, 3.4 stars. But like the first review was like a really long one there that like went into all this detail, kind of like about how it was meh. So I won't read this description because it's super large. But another one was Before We Were Innocent by Ella Berman. Okay. I'm actually pretty excited to read this one too. A summer in Greece for 3 best friends ends in the unthinkable when only 2 return home in this new novel from Ella Berman. 10 years ago, a sun-soaked summer spent in Greece. Best friends Bess Johnny were cleared out of having any involvement in their friend Evangeline's death, but that didn't stop the media from ripping apart their teenage lives. Girls were never convicted, and then they kind of move on with their life. Now, they resolved to kind of make their life, I should say Bess did, kind of small and controlled as possible so she wouldn't risk losing everything all over again. And it almost worked, except now Johnny is tangled up in a crime eerily similar to the one fateful night in Greece. And when she asks Bess to come back to LA to support her, she has to make a decision. Is it finally time to face up to what happened that night, exposing herself as the young woman she once was and maybe still is? And what happens if she doesn't like what she finds?
Interesting.
Yeah. And so that one was like a 3.45 stars on Goodreads. So I'm pretty excited to read that one. I just read We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I thought it was okay. It was really slow for me. The audiobook wasn't that long though. So I think it was like 10 hours or so.
Oh, really?
So I could get through it pretty fast. And it was really slow. And finally, the ending, like the last hour, things really picked up. And the end was like a completely twisted end where I was like pressing like back 10 seconds, back 30 seconds. I was like, wait, what?
like wait, just what actually happened?
Like what happened just came out of nowhere. And I was like, what? So it was definitely a twist, but it took so long to get there. So it wasn't my favorite, but I hear that there is kind of a prequel coming out to that.
Yes, actually, that was on my TBR. I don't know much about it. It's called Family of Liars, so it is the prequel to We Were Liars. It has 3.78 stars on Goodreads, and it doesn't really have much of a synopsis. A windswept private island off the coast of Massachusetts, a hungry ocean turning with secrets and sorrow, a fiery, addicted heiress, an irresponsible, unpredictable boy, a summer of unforgivable betrayal and terrible mistakes. Welcome back to the Sinclair family. They were always liars.
Yeah. And so I'll read the one for We Were Liars.
Mm-hmm.
A beautiful and distinguished family, a private island, a brilliant damaged girl, a passionate political boy. You kind of see the trend between these. A group of 4 friends who call themselves the Liars, whose friendship turns destructive. A revolution, an accident, a secret, lies upon lies. True Love, The Truth, We Were Liars is a modern, sophisticated suspense novel. I will say I did actually cry. I should say that. I did end up crying a little bit in this book. So it's a bit of a tearjerker.
Okay.
But I mean, you do have to get through so much to get there. But I mean, it was decent. If you want a quick read,
you felt something through it.
I felt something. I was just like, oh, shoot. This turned sour fast.
Yeah. And those are kind of some of the exciting reads that I like to read too. Where it's like you think it's going to go some way and it completely turns and throws your world upside down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Also kind of on my summer reading list, Mother-Daughter Murder Night.
Ooh.
And The Secrets We Buried.
Oh, that's good too. I just recently watched the movie and read the book, Where the Crawdads Sing.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of romance, but also very much a mystery thriller.
I love that book.
It was so good. I actually cried at the end of that one.
Me too. And not a little bit. I sobbed.
Yeah. I never would have thought.
Don't spoil.
I know. I never would have thought that I would have cried so much from reading it.
Yeah. And I cried when I watched the movie too. I feel like a lot of people now may have read that because the movie came out. And that's exactly what I did. I read the book before the movie came out. And so I was shook.
There are always those people that you know that they read the book before the movie because they will announce it. I am probably one of those people because that was me during the Hunger Games. I was like, oh my God, I read the book.
I read the book, so I'm elite over the rest of you guys in the movie theater.
This did not happen in the book, by the way. It was so much better in the book.
That was me when I was with my husband and his family going to see the movie. I was like, look, you guys have to read the book. It's better, but this movie was great. Yeah. Like, if you love the movie, read the book.
Exactly.
I was that annoying person, but it's true. Most books are better than the movies.
And we'll dive into that in another episode. But that was our mystery thriller summer version. We'll get into a little bit more come October.
Yeah, I do. Season. I've saved some other really good ones for October. So I'm ready to get there. And of course, if you have any mystery thriller horror recommendations, you know, Alyssa may read them, but
she definitely will.
I definitely will. So be sure to send them my way and tell them how they can send those.
I will tell you how. We are on Instagram, Main Character Syndrome Pod, also TikTok, and you also have a handle?
Beans Davis on Instagram.
And on Instagram, Alyssa the Redhead. That's READ head. So that I always say it's punny, but it's cute too.
Yeah, I like it.
But yes, send us your recommendations. Tell us if you liked any of the books that we talked about. We would love to chat with you and have some fun. Yeah. But for now, to the readers who listen, we'll see you later.
Bye, everyone.